Welcome back! My name's Jack, the snack that smiles back. If you're here, you're joining me to find out who is the a-holes today. But enough dibbler-dabbler, let's get started on the stories. This story by Poon Smell. Am I the a-hole for not telling my in-laws I speak Spanish? So this happened a while back, but it still bothers me. My partner and I had been together for about 2 years at the time and had a child together. My mother-in-law has never liked me because I'm not Mexican. She wanted her son to marry a nice Catholic Mexican girl, and I am none of that. I understand Spanish fairly well and can speak it, but I feel uncomfortable doing so. So they had no idea I knew any at all, because they never really spoke to me. We were over there one day, and she was yelling at my partner about how we weren't responsible because he had recently lost his job, and we were struggling financially. She also called me vieja huevona, that old lazy a-hole, basically. Now mind you, I was working full-time to keep our lives afloat and paying the bills myself while my partner looked for a job. So it's clear the mother-in-law has more spite towards you than valid criticism. My partner got wide-eyed and looked at me. At this point, I was very upset, angry, and almost in tears, and said, "Mum, she speaks Spanish. Don't talk about her like that." At this point, she turned bright red and told him we were a-holes for not telling them I spoke Spanish, amongst other not very nice things. We packed our stuff up and left right away, and she blocked us on Facebook and didn't talk to us for almost a year. Recently, they have been wanting to spend more time with our, now 2, kids, and I'm still annoyed that she has never even acknowledged that she was in the wrong or apologized, and to me. I'm not opposed to them spending time with our children, but they think I'm rude for refusing to go to their home or be a part of their family. I just feel really uncomfortable going to places I know I am not liked or wanted. So, I guess my question is, am I the a-hole for not ever mentioning I speak Spanish? Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to their home? I cannot see how you're the a-hole here. This issue didn't arise from you being deceitful. It came to be because she was caught out being a feminine pup, and instead of showing some humility and honesty towards you, she would rather go on the offensive. Also, not wanting to visit someone because you don't feel like they would accept you or welcome you or even like you for that matter, is again, you letting them walk all over you. You have no obligation to entertain people who do not respect you. And as such, you are absolutely free not to want to take your time out of your own life to go be with people who are just not going to treat you fairly. Nata, whether you speak Spanish or not is irrelevant. She had no business talking smack about you whether you could understand her or not. Nata, limafau, what was she going to do? Say it in English if she knew you were fluent? She's downright salty she got caught and can stay that way. I wouldn't budge without an apology. Life is too short to deal with people like this. I feel like a brat and stubborn by digging my heels in about the apology thing, but, my kids are half of me. If she can't accept me, or at least treat me with basic respect, why would I want her around them? That's the thing. They don't have to be around her. Why would I want my kids to be around someone who treats people like that? From your mother-in-law's perspective, as she most likely still harbors those feelings, she's probably more than happy interacting with your kids with you out of the picture. I would be careful about leaving kids, especially when they are young and impressionable, around a mother-in-law who wouldn't hesitate to insult you to your face and still not apologize. Not a brat at all. Set your boundaries. They're your kids. Most definitely not the a-hole. You don't need to tell them those things. I just worry that maybe if they had known, they would have been more willing to accept me. Even though I stole her son from her by having him move out of her home at 23 years old. I roll. Sorry, I have to shoot this nothing of yours down. The relationship is between you and your guy. You're not obligated to jump through hoops for his family or to meet their expectations. As long as you're treating their son with love and respect, they have no call to be anything other than kind to you. I don't find the same kind of men attractive that my mother did just because I'm her daughter. And that has nothing to do with how great my father was, because he was great. I just have different tastes and see the world differently. I'm a daughter, not a clone. She tried to rake me over the coals when I was a freshman in college after I described a guy I liked at the time. And yes, it was over ethnicity too. I told her it was none of her business and that was the end of that. Nope, don't do this to yourself. The problem does not lie with you. It's with the woman who cannot stand for her son to have another important woman in his life. It could just as easily given her yet another thing to attack you for. She'd be complaining about your accent or accusing you of lying about speaking Spanish because you're not at the same level as a native speaker. It seems apparent from a lot of the replies that the OP has given in the comments that they seem rather insecure about themselves. Which is a shame, but I hope that all this reply will give her an understanding that she is allowed to put her foot down, and she shouldn't let herself become such a doormat with her mother-in-law. She's the one who needs to check herself, OP, not you. This story by Confident Honeydew. Am I the a-hole for telling my son he doesn't have to respect his stepmother anymore? My wife and I have a hers, mine, and ours situation. She came into the marriage with a now 5-year-old. I have a 12-year-old. We have 1.5-year-old twins together, thanks Clomid. We have a 2-bedroom house with a finished basement and a sort of nursery room that my wife uses as an office. The girls use the 2nd bedroom and my son has the basement. That is a lot of people for a tiny house. There was a house fire 2 weeks ago in the middle of the night while I was gone helping my parents. My wife immediately collected the girls and the baby's diaper bag. She said she yelled fire and thought that my son had already run out the door from the basement, and that she felt the highest priority was getting the babies out because she has seen how quickly young children die in fires. Which is almost understandable if she went looking for him outside. However, she went back into the house, went to the kitchen, packed 5S insulin, T1 diabetic, and ran back out without checking the basement, which is right there. My son is fine now, thanks to the firemen, but suffered some lung damage. It will take years for his lungs to fully recover. Sports in high school? Likely gone. He's not on oxygen or anything, but he can't do sports for a long while. My wife and I have been fighting bitterly since then. Divorce isn't an option, or it would be on the table. We would both be homeless. She has always complained that my son has never listened to or respected or in the past, while my son always said that he felt like she didn't like him. I asked her why he would respect her, when she truly proved that she would hold everything, even insulin, over his life. I know insulin is expensive, but it's the principle. I told my son that I was sorry I didn't see the truth before, and that he didn't have to respect or listen to my wife anymore, but that financially we're all just gonna have to live in the same house and deal with each other, so just treat her like any passing stranger. She argued with me, saying that I was just giving him a free pass to make her life hell. Quite frankly, turnabout seems like fair play. Am I the a-hole? Nata, I was prepared to say otherwise until you said she went back in for her insulin. Carrying babies out first was the right call, but not looking for her stepson. Her husband's child is wrong. What she did was unforgivable. I could maybe understand if she hadn't went back in at all. She was caring for the infants, could have been hurt or killed, etc. But she really showed her true colors by not even thinking about the other human being that lives in her home. I hope you consider divorce when the opportunity arises. She insists that she thought he would have already run out of the house thinking of no one but himself. Sounds like she's projecting, because she's describing her own behavior. Holy snack! I cannot believe what I'm reading. I understand that he's 12 and able-bodied, but he's still a kid, and she's a parent. Okay, first of all, insurance would have paid for the insulin, assuming it didn't survive to begin with. Secondly, basements are like death traps in fires. Most of them have only one clear way out, and it's usually blocked by the fire. Not here. Not at all. I'm sorry. I don't care if the boy never speaks to her again. I really don't. She proved herself to be worthless. Also, I'm so glad your son is okay. And everyone else. Netta, her instinctual act of protecting the insulin over your child proves everything. It would be psychological abuse to force your child to treat her like a parent when she treats him like some random person's kid. Now maybe if she risked a health crisis due to not having insulin for however long it takes to get the new stuff from hospital or ambulance, then there's more forgiveness in order. But ultimately, coaching your son to see her as more on the level of a teacher or one of your friends, and not as a parent or stranger, might be more balanced. We get some good counterpoints though. Everyone sucks here. This is tricky. In panic situations, people do not think clearly. She definitely should have checked for him, but in her panic, it may have slipped. If you can't divorce because of finances, I can totally see how a panicked brain would run back for insulin. And you said she yelled to him and thought he escaped. I know that seems unreasonable. I would be livid in your shoes too. If you are trapped in a living situation with this woman and 4 kids, it's unreasonable to put all the blame on her. Your son is lucky to be alive, but now he has an extra burden to carry, and so does she. That is extra tension in your home. If she was proud of herself and felt no remorse, then she'd be the a-hole, 100%. Panic brain equals mush. Please try to understand that. Quite honestly, you're right to be furious and disgusted, but people can act incredibly stupidly in an emergency and it might not be malicious. What your wife did makes her an a-hole, but it probably wasn't deliberate. Telling your son that he doesn't need to treat his stepmother with respect is not a good idea. You would, or should, give a passing stranger respect, but apparently not her. You're basically telling him, you can be as disrespectful as you want, you don't have to listen to her, and that may come back to bite you in the a-hole if you're not going to be there to supervise him 24/7, 365 days a year. More valid points. When my older brother was a baby, my mum put him on a flotation device and was playing with him in a lake. She got out for a minute to get a smoke, and my brother wiggled in such a way as to make the floaty fail and put him face first in the water. My mother, horror-struck, could only point and make what is akin to an incomprehensible wail. She had absolutely lost her mind in that moment. Thankfully, my dad was a lot more emergency ready, and he jumped in and scooped up my brother. That was her son and her firstborn, and she always loved him dearly. If a crisis can do that to a person, I believe that OP's wife's story about believing he was already out of the house can definitely be true. Even though I absolutely find her an a-hole for not making 100% sure, it doesn't mean she left him to die any more than my mum left my brother to die. It's just an absolute stupidity moment. However, that story is a false equivalency. Stepmom didn't seem to be in shock. She made an insane assumption and went back in the house only to grab medicine. So clearly, there's a lot to unpack about this, and a lot of valid opinions on both sides that ultimately agree that she is the a-hole regardless. There are a few other points I'd like to make as well, but we're already over 7 minutes into this story, so let's move on.
Hello, hi, yes, no, don't worry, you're not tripping out on too much tea. I am a talking teapot. Just wondering if you could like and subscribe this video. Wait, you can't subscribe a video. You get my point. I'm a talking teapot. Am I meant to make sense anyway?
This story by Coca-Cola. My wife frequently stays at my male friend's house. My wife stays over at my best friend's of 10 years house at least once a week. She tells me they aren't doing anything explicit. I've expressed to both of them that I am not okay with this, and yet it keeps happening. To add to why I have trouble trusting that nothing is going on, this always happens after they've both been drinking. Am I the a-hole for wanting to kick her out? Not the a-hole. She's fricking your friend, OP. Nata, exactly. It's very, very suspicious that she would qualify her statement like that. They're not doing anything explicit. They're drunk fricking. I say drunk because this is the excuse they're going to use when you find out the truth. We didn't mean it to happen. We were drunk. It didn't mean anything. We were drunk. Hire a PI immediately, but don't be surprised by what you discover. Agreed. If you have any friends, or even a partner, who goes by this sort of excuse, that your actions are excusable if you partake them while under any kind of influence via a drug like alcohol or other substances, then you can be assured that the moment they feel like cheating on you, they will. And if anything, it's just an attempt for them to dismiss the idea that they are genuinely trashy people. In many cases, drunk actions are sober thoughts. Also, fun fact, those who say they blacked out or didn't know anything that they were doing last night when they were drunk, it's actually total BS. Science tells us that during that moment of intoxication, our brain merely shuts down the part of itself that can record memories. So they actually are in control of what they're doing in that state. They just won't remember being in control in the next morning. Anyway, ramble over, moving on. Once you're married, this isn't something normal that happens. Maybe some new age people will chime in with there's nothing wrong with it, you should just trust each other. Great, you do that. But it's odd, and for it to be happening so frequently, like what the frick is going on? You say it's after they've been drinking, but that doesn't really seem like a reasonable excuse, considering she's married and always has a ride from you, her husband. There's no reason she has to stay out or can't get home. You've expressed to both of them your discomfort with the situation, and neither respect you enough to put an end to this? I don't know if you have kids with this person or not, but how do you explain to your kids that their mother is sleeping at some other guy's house? It's just odd. I'd also have to consider the idea as to why would she want to stay at another guy's house? Like assuming that it's definitely not because she's cheating. Is there something he's lacking or maybe doing in the relationship that is causing her to seek another guy's company? At least just to fulfill some sort of emotional aspect of a relationship. Maybe, for all we know, this guy's rather abusive in some way. Or maybe he's just lacking some part of himself that she normally found attractive. This could be a situation where she, instead of communicating with her husband about what she's been wanting in a relationship, has decided to branch away with someone else instead of confronting the issue to her current partner. On the contrary, she might have already tried communicating to him, and he's not bothered to fix himself up or change in any way, nor compromise, so she's found the second best option. But regardless of those reasons, it doesn't excuse the lack of respect. She tells me they aren't doing anything explicit. Whether or not they are fricking, they are explicitly violating common boundaries of a monogamous marriage. At the very least, they are emotionally involved, and in all likelihood, physically involved at some level too. Why do you call him your best friend? You should tell him that he can have her and find new friends. ETA, some people are going to talk about cancelling and communicating. You have already communicated your discomfort, and she's ignoring it because hanging out with this friend is more important. The counselling you need now is individual counselling to help you figure out what will it take for you to stand up for yourself. Yep, this seems like another case of classic emotional cheating. She's prioritizing the company and satisfaction of the friend getting her time than you, even though you're her partner. Though, granted, she is being with you 6 days a week, so I guess it's not exactly a case of who's getting the most attention. But overall, I think it's fair to say that this relationship doesn't look like it's going to be ending well. That does us for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're looking at my face right now, that means you liked this video. So all I appreciate is if you would like the video back. Because if you like it, then I'll like you for liking the video, and then I can make more stuff for you to like that you can like. And it'll be just a constant cycle of never-ending pain and suffering. So don't do it alone, suffer with me. I don't know where I was going with that. If you haven't subscribed but you want to see some more content, then please, what are you waiting for? Click that notification bell so you're always updated on the latest content. And hey, why not check out some other videos while you're here? But anyway, that does me for today. Thank you again for watching. You're an amazing person. I love rambling at you, and I look forward to you staring at me beyond the abyss again soon. I can't close well. Don't at me, okay? My name's been Jack. Bye-bye. You're amazing. See ya!